Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Welcome. We're so excited to see so many people, so many friends. Really, after spending some days alone, I know many of us are on break right now, so having that time to be with family, but it's still always great to see colleagues and friends. So welcome, everyone. We're really happy to see you. Carmen is here. Carmen, you want to talk about your friend for a second?
Yes, I mean, I'm here and I'm feeling really pretty good, but I brought my friend Zumi, who is here in case someone falls ill. She's ready to take over. Say hello, Zumi. Hola, hola, everybody. Hola.
So Carmen comes with her own built-in subs, so that's phenomenal, right? We all need to have that. So we, again, are excited to be with you today. Just to frame a little bit of what we're going to talk about and share, we're going to share some tips, not specifically about Spanish, although both Carmen and I are Spanish teachers, but some tips, some tricks, some ideas, some ways to find out information that you would need to find out. So really this is a sharing. As Barbara mentioned, please, type in ideas, thoughts, questions. We want it to be a dialogue. Similarly, we're going to share lots of tools that we both use, but we're not going to necessarily do a deep dive into how to use those tools from a text standpoint. We're going to talk about maybe what they might look like in teaching world languages. And then our general advice to you is to, if you see one of these tools, neither of us think all of them will be useful for everybody, but if you see one that you like, just dive in, play around with it. That's what Carmen and I did. Some of these are new tools to us, brand new. And we both found that the best way to get in there is to just jump in, make mistakes, lose your files, find them again. Right, Carmen, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, not only that, it's like, oh my God, I honestly am sharing all the time with my colleagues online. You try it out and they give me feedback. And a lot of times it's like, let's not reinvent the wheel, and which is what we're trying to do today.
Right. So the first tool we're going to share with you actually is throughout this session. So the first thing we're going to ask you to do is to open up another screen, and you're going to go to a URL and type in a code. Our entire presentation is on a Paradeck, which is an add-on for Google Slides. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. We'll do some analog old school with a whiteboard. Everybody sign in to joinpd.com, and that is your code.
Be difficult. Cover up, cover up, cover up.
All right, Abuela, calm down. Okay, so let's get going. So we, Carmen and I, both love Bitmoji. If you don't have a Bitmoji, now is the time to make one. So what you're seeing on the cover of our presentation are varying representations of ourselves. This is me when I'm completely in control. And Carmen, do you want to talk about your image?
Yeah, I mean, at 1 minute you get very excited about whatever it is that you found, and you want to create a lesson and you want to try it all out, and before you know it, you're just writing. And I have to say, the anxiety level does go up. But there are more those other moments where you are feeling at peace with the world, and you know what? You think remote learning, this is the way to go. So it's those two ways of looking at it that we both feel.
Right, and we've both bounced between these states of mania and extreme calm over the past 2 weeks. So if you're there with us, we're all in this together. So that's okay. So as you know, we're using Zoom, and Barbara already did a fantastic job about giving you a sense for how to navigate this space with your kids. And again, everything we're doing hopefully is just giving you ideas, things that you can do with your kids. One of the things I really love are the reactions. You can see them at the bottom of your screen. There's a little face, smiley face emoji. When you click it, it gives you two choices. This is really great. So if somebody's talking and you think what they're saying is awesome, you applaud. Everyone want to try that? Go down to reactions and applaud me, applaud. Thank you, Carmen. Right? All the way in the bottom in your reactions. You see a little face with a plus signal. Okay, I see some, all right, I see some thumbs up, I see some applause, that's great. So this is something that you can do with your kids just to question them. How are we feeling today? You know, thankfully there's no thumbs down there. So these are ways that you can kind of communicate with kids. If you don't get it or you can't get into the reactions, the thumbs up is working really well. So there's still the facial expressions and gestures that work just fine as well. Okay, now, seeing as we have a large number of people here, we would thankfully not have this many folks in our own classes. What we've done on some of these slides are interactive, but to have, you know, 100+ people doing the same thing would be a mess. So what we're going to do is break you up by first name. If your first name begins with the letters anywhere between the letters A through E, you're going to try this slide. So this slide is really just taking the temperature of your kids. What is filling your bucket today and what is draining it? So I'm going to ask anybody out there, if you want to try it with your first name between A and E, go ahead and draw something or write something on that slide, anywhere, what's filling your bucket, what's draining it, and then I will show you what that looks like from once everyone writes. So this is an interactive slide. Whoa, look at that. This is fantastic. Wow, okay, ready? Stop now if you could. And I'm gonna show you. Oh, have people been writing? We've got some dots there. Let me try it again. Okay, 62 responses, 64 responses. Aha, nothing is showing up. Can you all see that? Just a little dot there. All right, I bet there's too many responses on that slide. Let's try one more time. Nope, okay, not working. We'll have to figure out what went on there. But normally, let's say you have a class full of 20 kids, you can click, you're gonna be able to show the responses to the whole class and share that. And you'll see in a little bit, we have some other ones that hopefully be a little more, a little clearer. Okay. All right. Is everyone ready for breakout rooms? Can I see a, or like a, breakout rooms? Okay, thank you, Carmen. Carmen's ready for breakout rooms. All right, so breakout rooms are really, I think, kind of the secret sauce to Zoom. It's a way to get your kids talking to each other in small groups. Just know that when you are in a breakout room with one group of kids, the rest of your kids are going to be in a different breakout room with no adult supervision, right? So just like in your classroom, when you've got kids working in groups at different tables and you can't be at every table and you don't know what they're doing, the same is going to happen here. I think teaching online is going to be a matter of trust. We're going to have to trust them to be doing the right thing. And if they're not, they're not. You can go from room to room and talk to kids and see what they're talking about and having conversations. So this is what we're going to do. What are 2 questions or concerns you have about teaching world languages online? All right, now before you go, I'm going to send you off in a second. You have another slide. Again, I don't know, hopefully this slide will work better with smaller groups. I am going to send you off into rooms randomly. Oh my goodness, we have 222 participants. Let's see, let's do, I'm going to do 20 rooms.
While you're doing that,
Yep.
somebody asked whether this session is being recorded, and it is. It's being recorded. It will be shared, so you don't have to ask that question again. And also at the end, I'll ask you if you want to save the chat on your own computer, because there might be a lot of good resources in here.
You're the best, Barbara.
Also, on the the Paradeck is new to me too. I did notice that in order to type an answer at the very bottom, there are some tools, and I think is one of them where you can type text. Yeah,
text box, an eraser, and
yeah, you have to actually select the T icon in order to type.
That's good. Thank you. Maybe that's what happened and it wasn't
so.
coming through. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. There'll be other opportunities. We'll try it again. All right, I'm going to create a room. Ready?
Laura, you're going to call them back, right? You're going to send them.
I'm going to call you back. I'm not going to leave a lot of time. This will be like 1 minute and I'm going to call you right back and you'll see a call. Ready? Here we go. Yay. All right, we did it. We got lost in cyberspace and we came back. Fantastic. All right, let's see what some of the reactions are. This is going to be a mess, but let's see. Oh, okay. Let's see.
I have a question. How do you make the room? Or how do you call it?
The breakout room.
Breakout room.
Okay, so how do you make the breakout room? If you are the host, the main host, and you click on more, don't everyone do it, but when you click on more, there should be an option for breakout rooms. If it doesn't show up, you have to noodle a little bit with Zoom in your main account. So in your account, you have to kind of click off something that says enable breakout rooms. So you have to find it. But once you have that, you click on that more with 3 dots, and then there's breakout rooms. And so you can see right now, hopefully you're seeing on your screen, these are responses from all the different rooms, right? So each room kind of had a different response. You can imagine doing this with kids. Hopefully this will be something that you can have them all do different responses and share their responses together. So there's another way of doing things and breaking them up into smaller groups. All right. So as you've been seeing, I'm using Paradeck for this presentation. And Paradeck is kind of my new favorite thing. There's lots of ways to do interactive slides. I'm finding that it's not quite as useful with a huge group like this. I think I just read 220 some odd people, so definitely not for a large group. But invest some time in Paradeck. Paradeck is, you can download, it's an add-on with Google Slides. So if you use Google Slides and you click on the top, it says add-ons, you can add different things. And Paradeck is one of the options. So I highly recommend it. Great for interaction, really, really fun. So let's all try this one. This is a Paradeck slide we can all try. Choose an option. Paradeck looks awesome. True or false? Everyone see if you can click on there. You should be able to just click the button.
Sorry, quick question. Do you have to pay for Paradeck?
Paradeck is totally free. Everything we're sharing with you, I know, we love free. Carmen and I are kind of obsessed with free tools. The sad and beautiful thing about this COVID situation is that many tools are offering free memberships, sometimes pro memberships from now until the end of the year. So this is the time to play around with them. And then I'm sure, as is every business is right, at a certain point, they will charge for these. Paradeck is free now and I think forever. I don't believe that it will change, but it's really good. All right, let's see what our responses are to this question. Oh, look at that. 132 people think it's awesome. And 2 people say, no, it is not. So I'm sorry, 2 people. Okay, carrying on. Question, Patricia? Unmute yourself. This is the international symbol for I can't hear you.
Yeah. Can we see the results or only you can see them?
You tell me.
I
Can you see that?
I don't see anything that
You can't see it.
No.
Oh, you don't see it?
No.
No,
should
you
be
will
able
have
to
to
see
share.
You're not sharing your screen.
That's it.
No, but it should. All right, something's wrong with this. I'm gonna have to fix it. You should be able to, once you click, because I'm clicking on share responses. So I don't know what is, let's see.
You have to share your
Share the
screen
screen,
through
yes,
the Zoom.
yes.
I can, here, I can show it to you very quickly. Okay, so that's what.
Now we see it.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, now it's free.
So now that's through share screen. That's not through Paradeck. There is another feature in Paradeck where you should be able to share that out to the kids in the actual file, but that's okay. That's another way. Okay, fantastic. So moving on, Carmen is going to talk to you about our other favorite new thing, which is Classkick.
Yeah, Classkick has become my absolute favorite go-to, and not just for remote learning, because I think it's going to be fantastic for remote learning, but I think I'm going to use it next year when everyone is in my classroom again, because it really is a great free free app. I mean, there is a pro version, and then there's a pro plus and everything else, but it's good for iPads, it's good for laptops, desktop, you name it. They have a lot of resources, Facebook groups, what have you, but it's a great little app to show teachers. You can show in real time how your students are working on an assignment, whether it's problem to problem, question to question, whatever it is. And if you want to just go through that slide a little bit, Laura, you can control, yeah, there it is. So there are some things here, like for example, if you know that one verb is really tough, you can center in on that one verb or that one question and see how everyone is doing. You have a roster that you develop, and in that roster, you are watching and you are able to give feedback immediately to the student. You can give feedback through audio, through text, through pictures, through stickers. You can see the one student that's kind of dragging behind a little bit. You can see the ones who's finishing up and, you know, ready to go on to the next thing. You can keep going with that slide. You can give stickers. Students are also allowed to raise their hand. They can not only raise their hand, there's also a way for them to ask each other questions as long as you allow it. So there's a lot of features here for those who are worried about assessment. This is an kind of an assessment, and you can have them speaking in one answer, and the next one they have to write, whatever it is, multiple choice. So again, there's a little bit written here, but you can see these are 3 students and one's ahead and one's behind, and that's the way our classroom usually is anyway. We can keep going, and here are the stickers you can make up for world languages. We can make up our own stickers using the target language, which I think is wonderful. And I also thought I'd give an example of a colleague of mine who made one for her FLES class where they have to use the microphone. And that's an assessment in itself if you're looking for an assessment tool.
Can you repeat the name, please?
It is Classkick.
Spell it.
Oh, kick.
Classkick, like a kick in the bottom.
K-I-C-K?
Yes, K-I-C-K.
K-I-C-K, thank you.
Are you
You
sharing?
found that on the internet? Where do I find it?
You just go to classkick.com.
And are you sharing the screen?
Lori is,
No.
no.
Okay.
So it's Classkick, and I have, since now that I've gotten my rosters up, the first lesson is almost already done for you because it gives them a little tutorial about how to go through all of the different tools that are on Classkick. But I would even research more resources through Facebook, through different groups, and I absolutely recommend it.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this is that if you create some good presentations, you can share them with colleagues. So, you know, Carmen said at the start, don't reinvent the wheel. If you create one, you can then send it, you can share it with a colleague. And so that's the kind of thing where if you're working in a group, you're working in a team, you're co-teaching a particular level, this is a great tool that, you know, you can split up the work and share it in that way.
Right, you not only share it, but you can then edit it. So if someone's sharing something to you that's a little bit lower than your level, you can just change it around and it's there, it's for you.
Right, and the question about is this for speaking and writing? So this particular screen you're seeing is actually our colleague. If you click on that green triangle, you can't because it's a picture, but if the kid were to click on the green triangle, they would hear her voice. She has recorded her voice and the student has to kind of go to a particular picture based on what she says. So you can record voice, you can put in images, all sorts of things. It's really, really useful tool.
There's also a way of grading on that, so you can give grades through that. And you'll just get on there and discover it. It's wonderful.
Right. So one thing I would recommend if you're going to play with any of these things, and Carmen and I have been doing this all week because that's the kind of geeks we are. She created several and then sent me an email and said, here, you go in as a student and see what happens. And so I was able to see from the student point of view what it looks like, and then she could see from the teacher point of view what it is that she gets to comment on. So that's another recommendation I would say in terms of moving forward. Don't do any of this alone. Find a buddy and, you know, test things out on them and make them your, you know, your guinea pig. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the way to share the love.
Lori's my guinea pig too. And I'm yours.
For everything. Okay, so any of you have your first name between F and J? This is a drag slide, so you're gonna see little dots on the bottom. Take those little dots and put them next to as many of those words as possible. So Classkick can help you do the following. What do you think? Provide feedback, give stickers, assess students, monitor progress. Let's see, hopefully you'll be able to see the responses. Hold on.
How do I get to your slide? I'm still on the true or false.
Okay, hold on. Can everybody see that slide? Carmen, can you see that?
I can see your provide feedback one, yes.
Can you see with the dots on it?
Yes,
You can see the dots?
yes.
Okay, so that's what you should be seeing, all those dots, and they're
I don't
just
see
a tad
it.
messy. No?
I see the green true, the red false. The slide does not move, has not moved.
Okay. All right,
Maybe refresh your page and see if that works.
Possibly.
that's a great
yeah.
idea. Okay. So we will move on from Classkick. So the speeding through some tools, again, this is not meant to help anybody necessarily jump into, oops, sorry about that, everyone. Okay, the great thing about Paradeck is that they have a lot of pre-made slides. And so I just stole this, this is not mine, but everyone take a stretch break for a second. Everyone just stretch. Yes.
A downward dog going over here. Some people are worried about their dogs making noises, so, you know.
Yeah,
May I ask
absolutely.
a question? How do I get your slides? I joined late, so I don't have it.
Okay, the slides, very quickly for anyone who's not in, are on.
Yeah, it's not.
Can you show it again? I don't see it.
Yeah, me neither.
You
You have to go into a new
join.
It is on the comments also.
yeah, if you look in the comments, all of this is there. Scroll all the way up.
Booze text. joinpg.com booze text. Okay.
Okay. All right. So don't go at this without stopping and stretching. I mean, just that stretch, I feel better. It's really important. So take the pulse of your kids. And if you're projecting anything or sharing with them, they probably need a little bit more stretch breaks than would normally. So a brain break, anything that gets them moving. Carmen, is your guy happy with that?
Stretch.
Carmen, did you put clothes on him since the last time I saw that?
He was very embarrassed. He was running around without a shirt, and Lori laughed at him. And
totally naked puppets. I'm sorry.
It's like your family, you know, they run
I shamed
around.
him. I'm sorry about that. Okay, moving on. So I wanted to go a little more traditional for this next one. I'm a big fan of Google Docs. I wanted to show you very specifically what I'm doing with Google Docs during this time that my kids are home. So this is the half of my class right now. I have 6th graders, and you can see each one of them has a folder that they have shared with me. Inside that folder, each one of them has one Google Doc. And so that's going to be kind of a running page for them to turn work in and do work in. What I do in class to keep some of the normalcy going, every day in class we have a do now activity, and I use Pinterest images for this. If any of you are on Pinterest, I have a huge collection of speaking and writing prompts. You can access them, you can use them for your own use, they're there for everyone to share. So essentially every day I project an image on the board, and students will type into this Google Doc some description of the image. If you're working on past tense, you can ask the kids to write about what happened prior to this image. If you're working on the future, you can say, okay, what happens after this image is done, right? What's the next thing that happens? You can really manipulate it in any way you want, and you can also choose images that reinforce vocabulary that you're going over. But I collect all of this in a running Google Doc. Each student has their own. Let me show you a little bit what this looks like.
Lori,
So
I
here's an
can't
image.
see anything.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at I'm still looking at Classkick. Where is the Google Doc thing?
So Classkick,
I'm still looking at Classkick.
And nothing's moving for you?
Nothing has changed.
Okay, you might want to refresh then.
Just refresh your screen.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll, Nope, don't share your screen, just refresh.
Don't share it.
What did I do?
That's okay, click the green button again.
I'm trying to get out there.
There you go, good. All right, so if you ever click that green button, you're gonna share your screen. So that's what happened, no big deal. So Gabby, can you see it now?
No.
Okay, you might have to go out of the Paradeck and log back in.
That's what I'm trying.
Okay, give that a shot. Okay, so you can see, those of you, hopefully the rest of you can see an image. I like to use funny image. I like to use weird images. I teach middle school, so it gets their attention. They like anything that's bizarre. Sometimes I do something very cute. This one I think is adorable and they think is very weird. It's a stingray photobombing these 3 unsuspecting swimmers. And so I project this on the board, and in the virtual board, I will share my screen and show them this image. Then they have to go in a separate window, they have to go to their Google Doc, and they have to write a story about it. So what you see here is one of my kids' writings. They'll write it, they'll leave it there. Every few weeks, I will go in, or every week now, probably more often, I go in and I highlight things that I think they need to look at. Every day when I project this image, they're allowed to ask me 3 words, right? They're not supposed to look stuff up. They're not supposed to go crazy with words, but they can ask me 3 words. And so today, on this day, they asked me for the word for stingray, the word for extroverted, or I think that's what they asked me, and the word for swimmer, right? So those words I gave to them, they then write. And that's something that I'm going to do every day to keep that normalcy going. I have a little rubric, so every quarter I ask them to pick 4 or 5 of their best writings. I ask them to edit, and then I assess that. You can see the very, very simple rubric that I use with them. So this is a way that I'm trying to keep something normal that we do on a daily basis and just bringing it into this kind of distance world. So what do you think? Google Docs, is this an organizational tool that might work for you? You can just click on a button. Ooh, lots of responses. Hopefully you will see the responses in a minute. Okay, can everyone see that? Carmen, do you see blue dots everywhere?
Let me open up my nope.
Okay, I'll share the screen. Okay, so I get a lot of thumbs up, but I also get a lot of maybe not. So that's okay. Stop that share. All right, moving on. I know we're going quickly. Carmen, HowToon.
Okay, so HowToons, I can make this one a little bit quicker. HowToons is a great intro. I've already made several of those for explaining or maybe even a review. It's an animator. It's a visual little animation creator. It has a lot of little characters. Free. And if you want to pay, that's another deal. You get more characters, you get more music, but there's a little tune, there's these quirky little things. It makes you really think about what you want to show. For the free one, it's only about 3 minutes that you can show. For one that's paid, there's an educator discount one in there. It would give you more like 10 minutes or something like that. I like it. I've even used it where you can import your PowerPoints. I have plenty of PowerPoints that I use in the classroom. I jazz them up by putting them in HowToons. The kids can watch them and they can rewatch them. So again, I think it's cute. I think it's great for images and text and audio, and very easy to use. So thumbs up.
Great for dialogues, great for having kids practice that interpersonal speaking or interpretive listening. So lots of flexibility there.
HowToons.
HowToons.
Oh, like H-O-W?
P-O-W-T. How. Okay, if you have your first name begins anywhere from K to O, what can you do in HowToons? Remember what Barbara mentioned, you have to pull up a writing tool on the bottom of this slide. So just take a second. I see some responses coming in already. What are some things that you can do? And again, this is a slide to model for you. Kids can write questions, kids can respond to things, and you can see these answers in real time, hopefully. Okay, let's see what some of these look like. Okay, Carmen, can you see that?
Nope.
The responses, okay, sharing screen. Doing a lot more screen sharing than I expected. Okay, now you can see it, right? Yep. Sounds interesting. but still not sure what it does. Good point, absolutely well taken. It's animation, okay. Create dialogues, assess interpersonal work. Okay, good, right? So,
So I guess
okay.
I can go to the, how does it support language acquisition? Because it is like a cartoony and animated thing, you put all of it in the target language, and you can have, and I've already made up some where you're seeing all of these visuals or hearing someone speak, and then I attach a worksheet for the students to do, to go to work with the HowToons video.
So it's a way to animate if you're trying to create some, let's say a dialogue that you want students to listen to. Again, I think interpersonal listening is probably one of the areas that it's really strongest. You could also do interpretive listening or interpretive reading. Kids, what I would kind of advise against is having kids just write up a script and then kind of talk into it, and because that's not really interpersonal speaking, it's more presentational than anything. It's not that you couldn't do it, but it's something to think about. But there's a lot of uses for it, and I know our kids like to make them a lot as well. Okay, I want to go, question, yes, Barbara?
We had a question about the voices in HowToons. Is it your own voice? Can you record your own voice, or is it sort of an animated voice?
You can record your own voice.
Right, which is great. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Extempore or Extempore. Actually, the company itself doesn't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. I've asked them, and I like Extempore because it sounds fancy. So if you haven't already used it, this is a tool that was designed specifically to assess oral communication, and it's designed specifically for language teachers. I highly recommend it. Normally, this is a cost per pupil tool, but it is free now from now until the end of the semester. So I highly recommend it. We use it. We've paid for subscriptions throughout the years and used it quite a bit. What's great about Extempore is you can decide how you assess kids, right? You can have a prompt that's written, and if you can see on this slide here, this example slide, my prompt was written. So I had ¿Cómo eres? ¿Qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre? Lots of kind of low level. This was for beginning Spanish. I think it was 9th grade actually. And so students had these prompts, and then you can restrict the amount of time that they get to respond. In other words, let's say they see the prompt for a minute and they have a minute to respond, or make it untimed, or make it shorter, whatever you want. Kids can respond in audio, they can do a video, they can also type. So it's really, really flexible. And so here's, again, this is the prompt. One of my students did a really lovely job, so I'm going to share that with you now, and hopefully this will work. Let's see. Hold on. Sharing. Making it full screen, Barbara, like you asked. Okay, and whoops, hold on a second. Oh, sorry, I had to share. Share computer sound. Okay, now I'm good. Ready? Here's Declan.
Hola, yo soy Declan. Yo soy simpático y un poco perezoso. Me gusta juego basquetbol y me gusta jugar los videojuegos también. Sí. Mi familia es muy simpático.
Okay, so you can kind of get a sense for what it is. Oops, let's get back on this thing. So what I really, really like about this, let's get at a full screen. Okay, what I love about, are you seeing my Extempore slide?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. What I like about this is that, first of all, he was one of the few kids in my class that didn't read, right? One of the challenges to this, and the reason why you can kind of time it and give them limited amount of access to the prompt, is because you don't want them typing up a script and then reading it to the camera. That's not helpful for anyone. This student has all the earmarks of the kid who's struggling to say something, right? They go like, and they make mistakes, right? So that's kind of what you want to see. So I like doing the video for Extempore because you can really get a sense. And you just talk to your kids and say, look, I don't read this. I can tell when you're reading. I want you to do this kind of impromptu. So it's a really nice tool.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hi, Lori.
Hi.
So how would you compare or contrast this to Flipgrid? You know, you can also provide the feedback, and then they get the whole, you know, community of learning. But it sounded like there's an ability, you said, to time the amount of time the prompt is out there, which I liked.
Right. So Flipgrid is equally, there's multiple ways to assess kind of audio or speaking, oral communication in your class. I think Flipgrid is great, especially for kids responding to each other. Extempore is really one of the big things I think we're struggling with right now at Dalton, and I'm sure all of you, is how do we assess kids? So what kind of tools do we have that'll kind of really simulate an assessment that we might give a grade? We're going to give grades to kids at a certain point. So I think Extempore has tools that are a little bit more leaning towards that summative assessment. But I love Flipgrid, and I think Flipgrid, you could do that as well. So it's really up to you. It's a matter of taste.
And Extempore is giving out a free membership right now, right?
It is. It is. Flipgrid is free too, but again, this is, you know, just another tool. But you're absolutely right. I think Flipgrid is fantastic.
I have a question for due dates.
Sure. Go ahead. Due dates.
So yeah. So do you give them like a certain amount of time? Like I know we're being restricted now on not being there, but if you're using this to send to the students, would you give them like a week, or is it going to be like a daily thing that you're going to give for them?
Yeah, actually here, let me flip back a second. If you notice on this slide under where it says response by Declan, you can see exactly when he submitted it.
Okay.
And notice it says past due date.
Okay.
So I love this kid. So you can accept it if it's late. You can put a hard thing and say, no, they actually physically can't submit it if it's after the due date. So you can control for that. I would just recommend, and I don't know what your schools are thinking in terms of timed tests and untimed tests. We are definitely leaning towards more untimed tests in this kind of virtual environment. So I would just make a plea for, you know, extended time for everyone, you know, more opportunities. You didn't do it right the first time, do it again, you know, that sort of thing, because, you know, this is the time to be, I think.
Gloria, I teach lower school, so trying to just see what I can do to tweak it.
Yeah, good question. Hi, Tori.
Hi, sorry, I have a quick question about Extempore. If you have student products in that account, how long will they stay there? Do you have them follow the kid through the school? Do you have it follow the teacher?
That's a good question. So that video that you just saw is from my account from last year. So I don't know the exact answer to that, but I know the folks at Extempore are incredibly responsive. And so if you send an email and you say, like, if I wanted to use this as a kid portfolio, what would that, like, how long would it be in there? It's a really good question.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay.
I have a question too. I'm sorry, just quickly.
Okay,
how does this compare to voice? How does this compare to VoiceThread?
Okay. VoiceThread is fantastic. I love VoiceThread as well. It tends to be, in my experience, I haven't used it in a while. It tends to be very demanding on bandwidth. And so I've had trouble in the past with kids narrating and getting access and the bandwidth not working. That's not to say it wouldn't be another tool to use now. I think VoiceThread is fantastic for narrating stories. Kids can respond to each other. VoiceThread, you know, all of these tools are fantastic. Okay, let's keep going. We'll kind of run through the last few things. So we see, how are we feeling?
One of them you called Flipgrid, is that it?
Flipgrid. Flip.
Oh, grid.
Grid, G-R-I-D. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And what Carmen and I can do, Carmen, I'm volunteering you for this, but we can put together a list of all of these links so you don't have to worry about missing anything, okay?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Do the students have to download these apps in their iPad, or do they go to the address in the web and have access to it?
So some of these are web-based, some of these have apps as well. My sense is that with an app, they would likely have to download it on their iPad. So I think it depends on which one you're hoping to work with.
Yeah, some of these you get it, and then they just give you a join code like the one you just had, and the kids would join with the join code, depending on what app you're using.
Right, like this Paradeck, the join code is specific to this group right now. If I close it out and I restart it, there'll be a different join code, and you do it all over again, right? Okay, moving quickly. I think, Carmen, if you agree with me, we're gonna skip this, but in the backs of your minds, be thinking about what could you assess using Extempore, interpersonal speaking and writing, presentational and writing, interpretive listening and reading. I think you're all on Flipgrid. You could do it. You could assess these things. You know, all of these things I think are useful. So let's put that in the back of your minds. We have a few more things to share with you, and then we'll open to questions. Carmen, con juguemos.
Real fast. I mean, I feel like I'm always rushing, going really fast. But
Yeah.
Con Juguemos is a great site for anyone who's using a textbook. It has Portuguese, German, Italian, French, Korean, Latin, and of course, Spanish. Spanish happens to have the most. It has just in Spanish alone, over 40 textbooks that you can draw from. It covers, for most part, vocabulary and verbs. Now, for Spanish, it also has some listening, authentic listenings that you can have by native speakers, and there are activities galore that you can do with that. They also have a graded practice where students would be practicing with the vocabulary from the textbook that you might be using, and that would then, they would take like a little mini quiz. They could do it over and over and over again, and it's a little like Quizlet, but with more activities that they can do virtually. And my students have been doing this for the last year, and they literally play tug of war with another student not in the classroom. So it would be at home that they would be playing this virtual tug of war. I highly recommend it if you're using anything from a textbook base, but there's also some cultural bits in there, as well as thematic grammar.
And Carmen, so you can watch as the kids are doing all of this. So like you're monitoring from the back end, you get the analytics of like how often they tried this one, how well they did, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, again, in the interest of time, we'll skip this one, but thinking about, the answer is all of these things, by the way.
Yeah.
Verbs, grammar, vocab, listening. I'm sure there's other stuff that you can do. Okay, so super quickly, I have been on break. Carmen and I have been on break for the past 2 weeks, but this is not your normal break. So I have been developing 2 thematic units that I've been wanting to work on for literally the past 2 years, and I have changed them from teacher materials to student-facing materials. So these 2 units are now live on my website. There's a virtual trip to the Museo del Oro in Bogota, which is I'm really excited for. Yay! There are student materials that you can download in PDF. They're in revision right now, so if you download them now, there's probably tons of mistakes. If you come back maybe this time next week, they'll be much more polished, but they're there. So this is, and the other one is about the capybara, who Carmen loves. I'm kidding, Carmen hates rodents, but this is the largest rodent in the world. They live in South America, and I think they're adorable. So the museum is a virtual trip. You get kids reviewing clothing. They're going to do some map work. They're going to do some food, eating of food, visiting the museum, exploring the materials. And then the capybara, you're going to do a lot of that same revision of some vocabulary like animals, clothing. It's really cute. Again, these were made for my 6th grade kids right now. They are, I'm going to say novice, mid, novice, high, some of them. And these are on my website, miscositas.com. Click on, I think, materials. And then they're there. So we'll put the links. So they're there for you to use, and I love feedback. So if you see typos, something that needs to be changed, let me know. Carmen.
Okay, I don't think I have to say much, and we really don't have that much time, but this one says it all. I mean, there are times where as puppets, I use puppets in the classroom, my students like to use puppets, but I go from a teacher puppet to sock puppets. This is how I think that we can kind of lighten up a little bit. especially remotely. I do have my sub here that can give out a little bit of instruction, but I could also model like a conversation or a question that a student might have. That makes it a little bit easier for me and a little bit easier for the student who might be a little bit reticent to ask a question. On the other hand, I already told my students, get your puppets out, get a stuffed animal out, because if you don't want to be on camera the way I apparently don't mind, you can put the puppet there and the puppet can now ask questions, especially in a breakout room where now they have these puppets or they have stuffed animal, maybe even a statue, maybe a finger puppet. I mean, anything. It really helps them kind of personalize their person that they're trying to pretend that they're going shopping or whatever it is that we're practicing. But I also think for an emotional, social thing, it's a good thing, especially now.
Yeah. By the way, I see that people.
My site, which is puppeted.com. There's a tutorial there for making a sock puppet if you're interested.
I see that people are raising their hands and being a terrible host. Just know that when you are teaching and kids raise their hands, you will see a note. I'm going to hold off on taking questions in a second.
No time.
Hopefully we will get through this very quickly. This is Carmen and Zoomy. I just want to double back to what Carmen said. You know, this is a weird time. Your kids who are extroverted in the classroom may not be in this environment. You know, again, like Carmen, I don't mind being on screen, but when I'm in a meeting with my own department or with the department chairs group, I tend to be quieter. I've noticed that. So just be, you know, let your kids speak through their puppets or, you know, speak through some other way. There's lots of, I think, patience we have to have with those kids, especially those who, you know, may not be having a good time of it right now.